Viewers and subscribers, welcome back to Beating the Press podcast. I am your host, Rafa. Now, coming up in this evening's podcast, we're going to be looking back at the weekend that was over there in the EPL. Big games, big results. And of course, joining me this evening to review these matches, we have returning to the podcast, Christoph.
Good to be back, viewers.
Yes, indeed, Christoph. We're going to kick things off right over there in London. Big news, Antonio Christoph getting in a massive car accident. It could be a career-ending situation. Did you hear of that one?
Antonio, no.
Yeah, the West Ham striker, he was in an accident over the weekend and he seemed to have sustained some major injuries, surgery required, broken leg, that sort of thing. So, it's yet to be seen the extent of the injury and will he be back to playing? Could definitely be a career-ending one. But even over there in London, Christoph, we had the big London derby, Arsenal Fulham. Talk to us about that game, that one. Arsenal not necessarily getting the result that they wanted. How did you see that much?
Um, I would say very poor performance from Arsenal. Honestly, I don't fully lay the blame at the foot of the players. They do deserve some blame. Because you go out there, you still have to play, you still have to win. But I feel like that loss or those drop points are definitely on Mikel Arteta, in my opinion. Um, Arsenal for me right now and over this season so far and last season, their games are won from the midfield, and they need to have a midfield that's ticking and fully gelled. And for me, that right now, that is Partey, Odegaard, and Rice. So the option to drop Partey to right back, move Timber to left back, and then put Jorginho in the midfield, I think is what kind of killed them, so to speak, in that game.
So the team
Uh,
selection from the jump then was wrong, you would say, in your
poor
view. I mean,
poor team selection, and then the substitutions later on didn't help
but who
either.
would have been a better what would have been a better 11 though? I mean, or based on what you're saying, the only change you would make then would be to bring in a right back.
No, no.
What are
Um,
you saying then?
right now, Mikel Arteta has found his best 11, right? When he
Right?
doesn't have that best 11, it looks to me like he does not know how to win the game without the best 11, right? Right now, that's what it looks like.
Okay. No,
The
but I'm saying
leave,
based on
leave.
what's available,
Don't change your midfield unnecessarily. Let the
right?
midfield stay. Partey has been world class this season.
So that would have
Excellent
been Partey, Rice, Odegaard.
midfield set. That
Midfield set.
we
Up front
know
set as well.
we
Saka,
we know Saka and
Havertz,
Havertz has have to play. There's no replacement or
right.
backup
And
for
then
Saka
is
and
either probably Martinelli or Trossard.
Martinelli and Trossard. All right. Kiwior has to come in for Gabriel since Gabriel is out. Saliba has to start.
Right.
Timber has been excellent at right back. All right.
Okay.
So moving Timber to left
So
back.
who would be the left back? That's what I'm saying.
I
Who comes
mean,
in at left back?
Kieran Tierney has been on the bench last 3 games. He's a left back. Why
Hmm.
is he not playing?
Tyranny. Arteta don't seem to fancy tyranny,
Uh,
Christoph.
it,
Tyranny. Zinchenko is ahead of tyranny in the pecking order, as far as I see.
that is irrelevant. Zinchenko was injured. You have a left back. You did not play that left back. What? All right.
Mm.
If he's not good enough to play, why was he on the bench? All right.
Well,
You
that's an
you
interesting
don't you
question.
don't you don't have to have a full bench. You could have chosen not to travel with him. But
So
also,
no credit
if
to Fulham. I
full
mean,
the Fulham did well in the first half, right? It was obvious that they came with a plan to neutralize Arsenal. They definitely crowded Odegaard and Saka since they thought they know that those are the danger players, and
yeah, for
especially
sure.
Odegaard for sure. Definitely. I thought the Raul Jimenez goal was excellent. Get behind the defender. The finish was excellent. Uh, Perhaps the keeper should have done more, but I don't want to take away from the quality of the strike and the quality of the movement that led to that goal.
Right, right.
Right?
Yeah,
So
for sure. I mean, Fulham playing some good stuff. I mean, at home as well. They're not really a lie down and take it sort of team. In all honesty, they can give as much as they take in one sense. And I thought Robinson had a fantastic game as well, really neutralizing Saka in particular. And that pretty much led to what I would classify as a positive result for Fulham. I mean, it's a 1-1 draw, not the result a team such as Arsenal would have been hoping for, chasing the league leaders, of course, who were apparently inactive. So, Christoph, that game, Liverpool Everton, being postponed due to bad weather. So that's a game that's gonna be rescheduled. So Liverpool now has a game in hand, but Arsenal lose further ground on the league leaders. And of course, Chelsea was there to take advantage, really battering Spurs, Christoph, in their fixture. That man again, Cole Palmer. What can we say about Cole Palmer, Christoph? He is lethal from the penalty spot.
I mean, he is lethal from the penalty spot, but I mean, it would be unfair to say that just from the penalty spot because everything he touches is goal at the moment. You know, he's outside of the box, inside the box, free kicks, everything for him it's almost like a free goal at the moment.
So would you say he's a better player than Lampard then, Christoph?
It would be too early to say that. You know,
Too early.
Lampard did have the longevity of
Well,
being at the top for a very long time and consistently performing. Cole Palmer is in his second full season. You're saying that he's better than
so you're
Lampard
saying no.
would be very premature.
So you're saying the two can't be in the same conversation currently. Too
Not a,
early to make that
wait,
comparison.
too early. What if last season was Cole Palmer's best season? And yeah, he will never hit those heights again. You know, anything could happen. There has
Well,
to be,
so far this season, he's outperforming himself at this stage of the campaign, Christoph. So the
definitely.
numbers are saying something different. The numbers are actually saying he's improving in terms of his offensive output.
Mhm. Yeah, and that is fair. But again, like I'm saying, you know, this could be his final good season. You know, a injury could end his career next week.
Well, that is
Let
true.
us
You can
hope
never tell
not.
what's around
Let
the
us
next
hope
corner.
not. But like I said, Lampard had the longevity, so Cole Palmer must also produce consistently over the seasons to be considered better than Lampard.
Yeah, definitely. I concur. I concur. But I'm already here in comparison, so to speak, in terms of goal scoring midfielder type comparison. But Chelsea getting the win over Spurs after Spurs took the lead, a two-goal lead after that. Christoph Cucurella, the man you could say responsible for both Spurs goals, slipping, giving the ball away, turnover in the offensive third of Spurs, and Spurs made him pay on two occasions to go 2-0 up, but Chelsea rallied and took the lead. And after taking the lead, it was really game, set, match. Some rash challenges, I would say. To me, Spurs threw it away, Christoph, in my opinion. The players threw it away. They could not keep their composure. Uh, Giving away to Bissouma, flying in for the first penalty. And then, of course, Sarr. I'm not sure what kind of challenge that is. I can only classify it as schoolboy defending. And it was Chelsea getting the win away from home versus across town rival Spurs. What's your take on this Chelsea team, Christoph? Can they push Liverpool to the title?
I mean, it would be folly to not consider them title contenders, I think. They've been doing well. They've performed well. They're consistently producing the results at the moment. Again, only, time will tell, do they have the staying power? But, the 2 billion that they've invested in their squad, is, I guess, playing some dividends.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. Lots of money indeed. But so Christoph, quick question. Is Arsenal now officially out of the runnings? I mean, having dropped another 2 points.
Um, they're not out of the runnings, but they're not currently not doing themselves any favors. They're something we've said, for a very long time. Again, to me, Arsenal are just shooting themselves in the leg. And I mean, this current Arsenal team is weaker than last season team.
Really? Weaker. Stop it.
This
Weaker
current
how?
Arsenal team is
How?
well, Arsenal have shipped out a number of players and have not
Those players were fringe players. Those players weren't in the first 11 or even first change. I mean, who have Arsenal
irrelevant.
shipped? But Arsenal have brought
Irrelevant
in
of if
replacements as
they're
well,
such as
such as Moreno, for example.
who was he replacing?
Well, he's probably replacing like a Smith Rowe, for example.
No, no, different rank position to think he's
And
replacing
of course,
Smith Rowe.
last year Arsenal did not have Timber available, and Timber has come in this year and is playing a prominent role in the team. You
Okay,
could say even replacing the weak link who you classify as Zinchenko.
Dinchenko is definitely the weak link in defense
Right.
last
So
season.
Timber has come in and has shored it up somewhat. And no,
Somewhat.
Arsenal have lost no one from their first 11. Absolutely no one has gone from the first 11 of last year.
So Arsenal is weaker than they were last season, regardless of if first 11 players are gone or not.
I think
Um,
they
the
have strengthened.
the players that have gone are players that could sometimes come in as somewhat impact subs or as
You're talking
rotation
about
options.
Nketiah, who hasn't scored in what, 16 games running? You're talking about a Simitro who is constantly in the treatment room. You're
Uh,
talking about a
you
Reese
mean
Nelson who
you
is a
mean
big part player.
you
Come
you mean
on.
Reece
Come on.
Nelson, Smith Rowe, who are doing excellently over at Fulham, doing
Given
a
the
job.
opportunity, but they were never given the opportunity under
Ah,
Arteta.
whether or not they were given the opportunity is irrelevant. What my point is,
Oh, but
the
they
team
have
is weaker.
players are in the squad now who I would classify as better than those, as changes. I mean, a Jesus, wouldn't you
Uh,
rank a Jesus
no,
better
no,
than a
no.
Reece Nelson?
Then right now, if you gave me the choice between Reece Nelson and Jesus, I would pick Reece Nelson. But cause
Come on, Christoph, come on.
got right.
Arsenal have strengthened, in my opinion.
No,
Strengthened that squad.
this is a weaker squad than last season. Arsenal have shipped out players, sold players, loaned out players, and have not brought in anybody as backup replacement or improvement
Cali
on what.
Fury has come in. Moreno has come in. Those are two quality players who have been performing well as well.
Califury has come in
Timber
and
is
he
like a
is
new signing
uh,
because he did not play any at all last season. And he
okay,
has now
Arsene
come in
Wenger.
and taken.
Those are some Arsene Wenger words right there. Arsenal,
Well,
Arsenal has shipped out players.
I can't see how Arsenal has
The
gotten
the
weaker.
the,
I
the
don't see that.
only the only player you could argue is an improvement is definitely Califury. He has come in, he has
And Timber,
taken that. Timber was there last season,
but he did not play. He never
regardless of
played.
if
He never played a minute. He's like
he
a new signing.
Timber played some minutes last season at the tail
No,
end.
man, none at all.
He
Nothing
played some
prominent.
minutes at
If
the
he
tail
plays a
end, and
minute,
he did.
I probably played more minute than Timber.
He played.
None at all.
He played in the
Come
Community
on,
Shield
come
as
on,
well.
Christoph. You're grasping.
Uh,
Community Shield don't count
anyway,
towards the title.
moving. What I'm saying is, Arsenal sold those players, moved them on, loaned them out, whatever. Nobody was brought in to replace them.
Mm.
There is no replacement for Eddie, even if you say he's the French player. There's no replacement. There's no. They sent out Vieira. There was no backup brought in for Saka. Right? You still have Martinelli and Trossard on the left.
But what about the
Right?
players who have stepped up? That
So
winger you're craving over,
who?
Enwari.
It, one year he's not a winger.
Yeah, one year he are a midfielder. You're craving over one year. I mean, come on. He isn't
What?
he a better version of Reese Nelson or even a Smith Rowe?
One year, in my opinion, appears to be a midfielder at the moment. If he's a winger or he's played as a winger before, fine. But I've only seen him play in
I
midfield
think the
and
only
attacking
thing that
midfield.
have changed at Arsenal is the results, Christoph. I think the team has gotten stronger, but the
No,
results
the
have
the
gotten
team the
poorer.
team has not gotten stronger. Last season, I said last season, if Arsenal brought in a quality striker, they would have won the league. Arsenal was lacking in some goals in certain games. Like I said, could have converted some games into wins with a striker. So far, that trend has continued into this season. They sold Eddie Nketiah. They kept Gabriel Jesus. Last season, Jesus proved that he's not the striker to lead the line. No striker was brought in as a replacement or as a backup. Jesus can't be the backup and is always injured. And when he does play, he's not producing the results. So no, it's not stronger. When Eniketia came in last season, he produced. He produced even if there was not faith in him. He comes into games, he scores goals, scores late goals. I remember him getting the start and scoring the hat trick against Nottingham Forest. We talked about it, and I said he needed to do that more consistently. All right, he's been sold, regardless of what he's doing, where he is now. You sold a striker who did score goals last season. You kept a striker who scored no goals last season,
So
right?
you're saying the wrong striker was sold then?
Definitely the wrong striker was sold. Right? If you gave me the choice at the beginning
Ah,
of the season to keep one, Jesus or Eddie Nketiah, I would have kept Eddie Nketiah and sold Jesus. Right? But I think Arsenal should have sold the two of them and bought a striker.
mhm. Well, probably no one was on the market, but another draw, 2 points lost again for Arsenal. To me, it's already curtains, and this just add a further nail into the coffin. I don't see
Possibly.
Arsenal winning the league this year, Christoph, and it seems as if Chelsea have moved ahead of them in terms of not only in terms of the points table, but also in terms of possibly the chances of winning the league. But we move over there to Crystal Palace, and it's that team again, Christoph. They have been in the news this week. The court case has closed on the 115 charges. The EPL now awaits that verdict. But Crystal Palace was not hanging around. Crystal Palace getting a big result versus Man City. Christoph, talk to us about Man City. Why are they still in this slump? The big hitters are now back. Kevin De Bruyne getting the start. The only major player, in my opinion, who is missing is really Rodri. Is Rodri such a significant loss that City cannot win a game without him? Come on.
Do you remember Claude Makaleli? You remember when Real
Claude
Madrid
McCall,
sold you remember
yeah, I
when Real
mean that.
Madrid sold him?
Well, that role of that defensive mid role was known as the Makaleli role. In all honesty, probably still is. I
Okay, well,
classify him as probably the greatest
for
defensive midfielder
for
ever.
for City, it's the Rodri rule, and unless there is somebody who can sufficiently cover for Rodri, they will continue to drop points in these games when they come up against an opposition who can kind of
But Crystal Palace is in the basement of the EPL, Christoph. I mean, we spoke about their ability to even score goals. They are. They got two versus City.
right,
City
but
had to fight back.
it's because Crystal Palace is not necessarily a bottom three side. You're not 100% expecting them to be relegated. As a result, these teams in that bottom three are going to fight harder against these teams. They really don't have anything to lose, right? So
Well, that is true.
they can play with a certain level of fearlessness in order to get results, get points. They have to.
Well, definitely. I mean, Crystal Palace has not scored two games two goals in a game all season. And here they are breaking that duck against Man City, bombing in two. And it was Man City who was against the eight ball, having to fight back. And of course, they went down to 10 men. The goal scorer, Lewis, picking up a second yellow and then subsequently a red. What was your take on that challenge, though, Christoph? In my opinion, I would say that second yellow should not be a yellow. Chances are the FA may rescind it over the period, but the effect is already felt. Even though the you may get him back for the next game, the impact of going down to 10 pretty much resulted in Man City holding on for a draw in that one. What's your take on that incident? If you saw it, that is.
The uh, it's what I've been saying, that the referees have the advantage of the VAR
Well,
to
for that
rewatch.
challenge, you could not replay it because it was a yellow. It wasn't a red card. It was a second yellow. So from a VAR point of view, the rules doesn't allow you to review yellow card situations. So that's the only thing I would say in terms of VAR. I mean, subsequent replay show that it wasn't Lewis who made the contact. In
Mhm.
fact, Lewis may have been the one
Oh,
who
okay.
was fouled.
Well. I mean, maybe it was for the accidental stamp on the foot. Maybe for that accidental stamp. But no, I personally, I don't think it should have been a card at all. Like you said, but I said maybe the referees
It
have
seems as if there's
abandoned.
no love lost for City, no charity for City, Christoph. It seems
No,
no love lost at all. Probably they're just feeling Watch that, say the bitter end of the stick. These days,
Uh,
when you're down, you're just down. When you can't get a result, you just can't get a result. But can this continue any further though, Christoph? Can this carry on? What does
it
City
can,
need to get out
it
of this
can,
slump?
it can.
Do they need to dip into the market and get a Roger replacement, so to speak?
Definitely that would be the best decision is to get a Roger replacement in January. If they
Right,
want
because
to
Roger is gonna be out the entire season for
right,
sure, and we don't know how he'll come back next
if
season.
they want to continue using the play style that they've been using all season and last season, that they do need to go in and get a replacement. However, there is a solution that can be utilized from the players that you have currently available to you.
What says you in terms of the solution though?
Play a double pivot. All right,
So
with
two defensive mid instead of one then.
right. You already have all everybody who is not in that defensive midfield role. Everybody across the left mid, attacking mid,
But haven't
right.
City been trying that though, Christoph? Haven't Gundogan been in there and Bernardo Silva? Haven't
Bernard,
they been trying to a
need
double pivot and then
no,
Kevin De
need
Bruyne at the tip
neither
of that triangle?
neither of those players are defensive players. All
But
right,
who
that is
does City have
three.
that's defensive?
That is three attacking midfielders. You're playing in a
So
defensive role.
who could City bring in who is on their roster who is more defensive
They,
minded?
before they had Kovacic doing a
Well,
job.
Kovacic is injured,
Fine, fine. Kovacic, they had Kovacic doing a job, right? Um,
right?
uh, Guardiola tends to move players around from their position, and we've seen him use John Stones and even Kyle Walker in that defensive midfield role in games
Well,
where
I wouldn't say I would say
no, they push up,
they tuck in,
they
but
tuck
not
in,
out
they
and
push up.
out.
Right. So the solution is you get one of those players, and he does it with Rico Lewis as well.
Mm,
You play Rico Lewis alongside maybe a Kevin De Bruyne or a Gundogan, and those two players will sit and sporadically go forward one at a time and
right?
stop. Everybody does not need to go forward. Everybody, you don't. If you're going to send everybody forward to overload, you
Mm,
are very susceptible to the counter attack, and with
right.
no defensive midfielder to win the ball or professional tackle somebody,
Or
then
yeah,
you're
provide
going to
some level of protection for the back
protection.
line,
It's
a
going to
shield,
continue.
so to speak.
Right, it's going
Shield the
to
black
continue
back
happening.
line.
So he needs to use a Rico Lewis and a Gundogan as your
Oh,
double
so a
pivot
Rico
in mid.
Lewis. So play Rico Lewis in the midfield from the jump and maybe bring in a right back. You're
Right.
saying then.
Kyle
Mm,
Walker is a right back. He was at
well.
centre back and doing foolishness.
City. I'm not sure what's going on. To be honest, I am not sure what's going on. The results are just not coming their way. And for
And
me, they are also out of the title chase, in all honesty, Christoph. Well, I had written them off from the 11-point lead, and I don't see them coming back into contention any at all, in all honesty. To me, it's a two-horse race at this point in time. It's Liverpool or Chelsea. And if I was a betting man, I would definitely have to hedge my bet with Liverpool, leading the league with a game in hand and playing some good football. Not only is it showing on the league table, but the eye test as well. They seem to be one of those teams which have gelled, which the coach know his best 11, which they have settled on a playing style and really churning out some results. That game versus Everton, the Merseyside derby, will have to be rescheduled, so we'll see how that one pans out. But some other big results taking place over the period, Christoph. Brentford getting a big win over Newcastle there. A shootout over Brentford there, and it was uh, Thomas Frank Men who came up with the big win. Newcastle up and down all season just can't seem to find any level of consistency. And of course, Brentford is red hot at home. Over there at their stadium seem to be a fortress. No team has gone there all season and gotten a positive results. The problem for Brentford though is on the road. It's almost like a complete night and day situation. Red hot at home, but ice cold on the road. And so far, it's been doing the trick for them, though, Christoph. They are climbing up the table with another big win, and they are banging in the goals as well. They are one of the league's top scorers. That man, Wissa, can't seem not to be able to find the net whenever he plays at home, Christoph. What's your take on Wissa? Does he get the credit he deserves as a striker in the EPL? I mean, you have some lofty standards as it relates to strikers. Could Wissa possibly fit into our Arsenal setup, Christoph?
No, not good enough. Not good. Not at the level that Arsenal require to, if they want to challenge for a title and go on to win it. Wisa is not that level, in my
But what's your
opinion.
take on him though? Is he a bit why is he up there in the Ivan Toney level? I mean, we have Brentford have been doing so well that we haven't even heard the name Ivan Toney being referenced at no point in time this season. They have found replacement for those goals that Tony would be banging in, week out, and we seem to be one of those players which have come to the fore and is getting his name among the top scorers in the league.
Hard to say what you would be getting from Tony this season, if he were still around. But um, if I were to base Wissa off of Tony last season, I would say you're getting more out of Wissa this season than what Tony was producing last season.
Well, I mean, last season, the majority of that season, he was suspended, Christoph.
Right,
But
right.
when
He
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 did
was
come back, he,
he
he
was.
did capture the imagination. He got a couple
Yeah,
goals.
yeah, right, right. So in my opinion, when I'm making that comparison, Tony has the advantage because he had less games to do well in versus Issa, who is going to have all 38 games to
Right.
to to do a better job. But
Mm.
to, Tony has the advantage because obviously he would have a better strike rate playing in less games. But for me, Wissa is outperforming what Tony was doing at the tail end of last season.
Definitely, definitely. Underrated striker, but definitely getting the goals, putting the ball in the back of the net. And that's what you need. That's what all teams need, no matter how well you play, no matter how good your build-up is. If you don't have a finishing touch, then it's all for nothing because in football, goals win matches. And definitely, Brentford has a talisman who has taken over from Ivan Toney, in all honesty. And Wissa seemed to be the first name on the lips of the Brentford fans. But we move, and that was a good win for Brentford. But we move on, Christoph, and today, ironically, Christoph was what I would classify as El Sakiko. It was the two managers under pressure. West Ham manager Lopetegui versus the Wolves manager, and it was the West Ham man who came out on top in that one, Christoph. West Ham winning that one 2-1. What was your take on that game? Are we now seeing the final knockings of the Wolves manager?
I mean, I don't know. He hasn't been sacked as yet, so I can't say. I cannot say.
Well,
Um,
the results. I mean, Wolves is a team we've spoken about early in the season, where we were saying they were playing well, but not getting the results against the big teams. Over the last 3, 4 games, Christoph, they have now faced lesser opposition, and the results are still not coming. I spoke about the confidence during that period, and so said, so done. That has taken a massive hit, and they seem not to be able to churn out any results at all. Up against fellow strugglers, West Ham, and it was West Ham who came out the victors, getting a 2-1 victory. Suche coming up with a big goal right there to give them the lead. And then, of course, you know,
I mean,
Wolves had no answers.
it might be a game that is the final in the coffin for a Gary O'Neill, but um, it's not as if West Ham, blew them out of the water or anything like that. It was a relatively close game and not getting the result. And like you said, it might be a case of confidence for Wolves at the moment, keeping them from getting a result. It might even be a case where getting a new manager is what it takes to restore that confidence.
Yeah, you could get the new coach bounce and suddenly you get two, 3 good results and the season immediately has a different outlook. There's a different feel in the camp. But we have to wait and definitely see. But this definitely isn't the result that Wolves wanted. Sure enough, this is the result that West Ham desired, and it may spare Lopetegui some blushes, if in fact the West Ham hierarchy was considering some sort of early sacking. But I'm happy to see they're maintaining some level of faith. I do
I
believe
mean,
this manager has some quality and may just need some time to get the players playing his style.
I mean, I did see a report that West Ham was considering the future of Lopetegui. So I
Well,
don't
we're
know
always
if
going to have speculation once results are not going. Narratives will be spun. And I also saw a few narratives where I'm seeing Tata possibly in the running. If in fact Lopetegui was. But for me, Christoph, in terms of a manager out there that would fit the West Ham mold, I think that man is Southgate.
Gareth
Former,
Southgate.
yeah, former England manager. I mean, he is sitting idly at home, and I think he would be a fantastic fit for a team such as West Ham. That core of English players, and he coming in as a England manager as well. That has been the West Ham style. West Ham has always had some core English players at the center of that team. The likes of a Declan Rice when he was there, Bowen back in the
But
day.
would a Southgate take that job though? Moving
Ah,
from the
definitely. He will bite your hand off for that job, Christoph. West Ham
moving
is a
from
big team.
moving from England to West Ham, he might see that job as below him.
Ah, no, right now Southgate should be able to take anything that comes his way. I mean, he hasn't been in club football in a number of years. That could be a strike against him, in all honesty, where he's not used to the pace of the EPL, where you're playing games week in, week out. Oftentimes international football is spaced out, over the international breaks or when there's a major tournament. So that could very well be a strike against him. So to me, any opportunity he gets in the EPL, and West Ham is a big team, Christoph. West Ham was in the Europa League just last season where they won it under David Moyes. So this is a team which is known for playing European football. It may not be at the Champions League level, but West Ham has a massive following. They are a London club. They are in the metropolitan area of England and have a big name, a big history, a rich history behind them. This is a massive opportunity for any manager that comes in, if in fact Lopetegui was to be fired. But so far, he has gotten a result this time around, and he may continue to keep his job if the results continue to go positively. But that was a big result for West Ham today, and of course, as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, Christoph, Mikel Antonio, Jamaican international. Big accident. He's alive, but the car was totally crushed to smithereens. And he's probably lucky to even be alive at this point in time, much less possibly contemplating some return in the future to professional football. I'm not sure if that will be the case, but fingers crossed he can make a speedy recovery. But interesting times ahead. Interesting times ahead indeed. But Christoph, any final thoughts from you? Any other results which stood out for you over the period?
Maybe Brighton and Leicester City really wasn't expecting a draw there. Leicester has been poor all season in my opinion. I don't think they're Premier League level
Well,
anymore.
that
So
new coach Bones, that man over there, Ruud van Nistelrooy, this is his second game in charge, and he is still unbeaten, Christoph. A win in the first game, a draw in the second, coming from behind to get that draw as well. So they
uh,
may be going through a new coach Bones type situation. But
probably
I mean,
maybe.
how can we leave the podcast, Christoph, without touching on Manchester United?
Um
Give us a quick take on that game. Amarin, Forest, to us.
Um, I mean, this is a rejuvenated Forest team, and it just goes back to what I said some weeks ago. People, you were saying Amarin, he has Man United playing some good football, but they just look good, right? They just at the moment, all they do is they just look good. They're not they won against two teams that they were expected to win against.
But when they expected to win against
Uh,
Nottingham Forest not only
I think it
beating
dep
them, but look convincing, was
I
clinical in front of goal.
I I
Three
I
shots
think
on target, three goals.
I think it depends who you ask. That they were
Well, I've said it all season that this Forest team is no joke.
right.
And
So
this is just
you
another
so
result
do
which shows
did
that.
you expect Manchester United to beat Nottingham Forest?
I did expect, I was leaning on that side, but I do believe I had called a draw if memory serves me correctly. But I did say I would lean more towards a United win if in fact there was to be a winner. So it was a little surprising, but not overly surprising because as I said, Forest have been playing some good football and they did so again in this game. They were clinical in front of goal. Of course, helped by the
I
goalkeeper, of course, especially for that second goal. And it was
um
comical on the third goal, in my opinion, as well. Technically, that looping header beating or freezing three players.
in my opinion, people say, Onana horror show or whatever, and he could have done better on the goals that were scored, definitely. But I thought the goals that scored, all three goals could have been stopped by defenders. All
Oh.
three shots, passes, through passes, crosses should have been stopped by defenders. I thought it was poor defending on the part of Man United. I Onana definitely could have done better for at least two of the goals. The looping header, wrong-footed. I can't blame him for that one, but definitely the defenders should have been the ones to have stopped those goals. There should not have been shots on the goal in the first place.
Indeed, indeed. Things
But
may very well get worse before they get better over there at
uh,
United, in all honesty.
like I said, United to me they look good. I test, look good, but they're not producing the results because I I I didn't expect them to beat Arsenal, even though they had a number of factors that were probably favorable. New coach bounce, Amarin had beaten Arsenal before, so there was potentially some know-how. Personally, I don't think he went to Arsenal with the intention of winning. To me, the first half it kind of looked like Arsenal said, "All right, let's see what you're bringing to the table," and then second half was just all Arsenal. I don't think he went to win. He went to get a point. That wasn't enough. But
Well, I
again,
mean, Forest really getting the job done in this one, though, Christopher, and it's back to the drawing board for Amarin, in all
no,
honesty.
it is not back to the drawing board for Amarin, in my opinion. We saw that he can get the players to play how he wants them to play. The problem is that Man United's recruitment since the departure of Sir Alex has been so bad.
We are gonna need a whole another podcast to dissect that can of worms, though, Christoph. And we
But
are quickly running out of time. So I'm just gonna take your final comments on that Manchester United game and wrap things up.
I
But
think
we'll definitely need another podcast dedicated to United, Christoph.
I think definitely we can expect to see more of that throughout the season until potentially Amarin gets some players in that he wants.
Definitely, it's going to take a few windows to get the sort of players that fit his usual playing style. In the meantime, he seemed to be giving players opportunities to prove their worth and making his mind up as to who he will take forward versus who he may very well place on the chopping blocks. But
Yeah,
time is the master, though.
I think that's good on him. He has given every player a fresh slate and is giving them the opportunity, and I think that's excellent on him.
Definitely, definitely. But that's all the time we have, viewers and subscribers. That is all the time we have. Thanks again to Christoph for coming on board, really sharing his thoughts and his opinions. And he seemed like he has a lot to say, especially as it relates to the situation unfolding over there at Manchester United. Big shake-up as well in the backroom staff. One of their major backers in terms of player recruitment and decision making again shown the door, and a lot is taking place over there at Manchester United. But that's all the time we have, viewers and subscribers. Thanks again for locking in and tuning in to us here on Beating the Press podcast. Continue to share, like, and if you haven't subscribed as yet, hit that subscription bell. But until next time, this is Rafa signing off.